Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video we are going to be doing my own nails with acrylic, so I really hope you all enjoy watching. And I have left one nail in real time, so let me know what you guys think of that as well, so just so you can see some of the application of acrylic basically in real time. Let's jump in and take a look at the products we're going to be using today. So we're using the Cjp Acrylic system and I'm going to be using Beach Walk and Obsession. And then we're going to be using this really pretty glitter. I believe this one is called Footprints in the Snow from Charlie's Nail Art. And then we're going to be top coating with the new Snowflake top coat from Kiki London. And lastly, of course, we're going to finish off with my absolute favourite cuticle oil, which is the Kiki London Sweet Peach. Jumping in to the nails, I have already done all of my prep, applied my tips and a thin clear base, so we're going to jump straight into the acrylic application. As I mentioned, I've left one nail, so the first nail that we do, I've left all the steps for that nail in real time. So here we are applying Beach Walk, and what I'm basically going to do is an ombre. So I'm starting off with this colour at the middle part of the nail and blending it back into that nail bed area using a really gentle stroke. We're blending it back because we don't want there to be a harsh line where this color ends, because we're creating that ombre look. We want everything to look quite soft and blended. And then I'm very gently pulling the top of that bead of acrylic down so we cover the entire tip of the nail. Now I am going to be covering up this color with a glitter. I wanted there to still be a little bit of color there coming through, but I want to keep it super thin because we don't want to end up with a too bulky nail. And because I know that we're going to come in with the glitter on the top and then we're going to do our ombre and then we're going to need to encapsulate, I want to keep each of those layers nice and thin, otherwise you are going to end up with quite a thick nail, and you especially don't want that at the tip of the nail because you want your tips to be nice and thin. So continuing through this set, we're going to do the same on all 5 of the nails. I do only record the 4 nails, I did my thumb off camera, but I'm just basically going to go through and apply all of our Beach Walk, making sure to blend it back and keep our application thin. So let's talk about this design. I really want there to be some snow. However, everywhere else seems to be getting snow but London. I keep seeing like crazy snow in places like Norway and Canada. And then the UK, I think some areas, especially up north and Scotland ways, have had some nice, decent levels of snow. Here in London, we don't have any snow on the forecast, which I do love. A couple days of snow day. It's just a lot of fun, especially for the kids. So seeing as it doesn't look as though we're getting any snow anytime soon, I really wanted to do a snowy set of nails. And the reason I went for Beach Walk rather than a white underneath my glitter is because in London, when we do get snow, it only usually lasts looking white for a day and then it starts looking quite grey and sludgy. So that was the inspiration behind this set of nails. Now that we have applied our Beach Walk to all of the nails, I'm going to come in and apply my glitter. So I'm taking a super small bead of clear acrylic, dipping it into my raw glitter, and then we're basically going to apply this over the top of that Beach Walk. To begin with, because this is quite a chunky glitter, when I place it down on the nail, rather than trying to pat it and press it into where I want it to go, I'm kind of just mixing it in with that clear acrylic, making sure that the clear acrylic is coating all of the glitter. And I'm doing this by keeping my brush quite wet. So as you can see, when I picked up that bead of acrylic, although I only picked up a small bead of acrylic, I did keep a decent amount of monomer in my brush. This way you're going to be able to nudge all of those chunkier glitter pieces around without any sticking in your brush, or without too many sticking in your brush either. So also doing it this way, you are going to be able to create that nice thin layer that we talked about. If you come in with a too big bead of acrylic, you end up a lot of acrylic coating your glitter, and then you end up with that thick bulky nail that I mentioned. So just by picking up a really small bead of acrylic like I'm showing you guys here, and keeping your brush quite wet with monomer, you're able to just apply a thin layer of acrylic with that glitter and still get the full coverage that you want from your glitter. I also find as well that you don't need loads of acrylic to apply your glitter. The main reason that we're applying it with the acrylic is so that it sticks down and it isn't going to move around when it comes to encapsulating. Now if you find that you've applied your glitter and acrylic mix and it's just not giving you as much full coverage as you want, whilst that acrylic and glitter mix is still wet, you can come in and apply more glitter over the top just using your wet brush. So it kind of helps that when you pick it up, you flip your brush over, swirl it around a little bit, and then once you've got the glitter and acrylic mixed around, you can start just pushing those glitters around to where you want them to go. So for me, I wanted the glitter to uncover that entire tip of the nail, so everywhere that we'd popped down the beach walk acrylic, and then I want it to blend back gently as well, because we are creating a fade, so we don't want no harsh lines on any of the steps there. We want everything to blend back and look quite soft. And yeah, like I said, if you then want to come in, you would have seen that I wanted to add on some snowflakes on one of the two nails that are in this glitter mix. I just go into the raw glitter mix with my wet brush and pick up any bits that I might need. If it helps, you can pick up some, or you can decant some onto a palette, whatever you find easiest. I find to just go in with my brush, pop some down on the paper towel, and then I can pick out the ones that I want. So this is what the nails look like now we have applied all of our glitter, and then I am going to leave that to dry. So just give it a few moments or a few minutes for the acrylic to set in place, so that when you come in and do your ombre, you're not going to be pulling any of those glitters around. Next up, we're going to take Cjp Obsession, and I'm going to place this down in the middle center part of the nail bed area, and then I'm going to gently tap this up into that cuticle area, being really careful not to touch the skin or cuticles and wiping off any acrylic that does. So I'm using the very tip of my brush to push this up towards that cuticle area and just tapping it gently into place, and then I'm going to blend this down over the acrylic. And because Obsession isn't super opaque, it blends absolutely effortlessly. It's one of my favorite core colors from Cjp. If you work it with it a little bit drier, you can make it look a little bit more opaque, and you can certainly build up the coverage with it as well. But when you're wanting something just a little tiny bit sheerer than a full opaque shade, especially when you're doing these kind of glitter fades where you're going to be covering the glitter fade zone rather than the glitter coming over the acrylic, it just blends absolutely beautifully. Now, although this is a core powder, so that means you can build up your strength and structure with it, I'm not doing so in this design. I'm simply using it to cover that nail bed area and create our fade. I'm going to build all of our strength and structure when it comes to encapsulating with our clear acrylic. So that is why I'm only using a small bead just to cover that nail bed area and create that fade. Sometimes, depending on how I'm working with the acrylic or the mood I'm in or just what's going on the day, I will build up this zone with the core color a little bit more and then just encapsulate from the fade down. So there are lots of different ways for you to do this design. This was just how I did it today. If I was building up that cuticle area with the core color, I would use a slightly larger, so more a medium to large size bead, and I would build up a little bit of the apex and cuticle zone and then fade it down. You'll also see as well, sometimes I wipe over the nail with my wet brush. This is just to make sure that there's none of those glitter pieces that might be loose hanging around on the nail. I don't want them to get stuck in this layer of acrylic. So once again, we're just placing down our bead, keeping our sidewalls nice and clean, doing my best to tap it up into place and get it as neat as possible in that cuticle area. It does also help as well if you tilt your finger downwards when you're applying your acrylic so that it doesn't run back and flood the cuticle. And here on this now, you see that I did come in with a little bit more Obsession. You can totally do that if you want to as well, especially when you're working with small beads of acrylic. Now we're ready to come in and encapsulate. So I'm going to wipe over the entire nail with my monomer. This is just going to help the clear acrylic flow around those chunky glitter particles. And then because this glitter is quite chunky, and we haven't really gone over it with any acrylic yet because our ombre bead only come down so far, I'm actually going to cap the tip of the nail to begin with. So I'm coming in with my bead, placing it down at that fade area, and then just gently walking it down to the tip of the nail. Now, because we wiped over the nail with that little bit of monomer and I'm working with a slightly wetter bead, it's going to encapsulate those chunky glitters easily. The drier your bead is, the more you have to push it around, which then can create little bubbles and gaps between your chunky glitters and your encapsulation layer. So whenever I'm encapsulating a chunky glitter, I do work slightly wetter. Then as you can see here, as we've moved up to the cuticle and apex area, I'm working with a more medium to dry bead. This way I'm able to push it up into that cuticle area and it's not going to run back because it's not too wet. But then also because it's a bit more of a medium consistency bead, it's going to stay where I place it down, which is in that apex area. So then I'm just able to pull the sides down, pull the top of the bead down to blend it out, but I'm leaving a majority of that product to build up that apex area. I did then look at the nail from all angles and decided that it just looked a little bit too thin. I wanted to have a little bit more of an apex built up, just because these nails are quite long for me. I've not worn any long acrylic nails in a while, so I wanted to make sure that I had a good strength and structure there so I don't get any breakages. So I did just come in with another small bead, just placed it down into that apex area and blended it down. Now we're going to come in and encapsulate the remaining 3 nails, and you will just see that when I picked up my bead of acrylic, I placed it down onto my paper towel. So I've picked my bead of acrylic up as normal, but then keeping the bead of acrylic on my brush, I've just drained the back of my brush from any excess monomer. This is because I wanted that more medium to dry consistency bead, and I could see on my brush that I had too much monomer. So if you ever go in to your monomer and you feel that your bead is too wet or wetter than you want it to be when you're going to place it down on the nail, you can just drain the back of the bead on the paper towel. And I find this great, especially when working with the Cjp acrylic system, because it is an acrylic system that works better on the medium to dry side when it comes to your ratio. Personally for me, that's a big bonus. I find a wetter acrylic a lot harder to work with, and when it comes to my brand preferences, they are predominantly Cjp and Diamond Nail Supplies, because I find those 2 brands work nicely when you use that more medium to dry ratio. Of course, this is going to be something that you find it's a personal preference kind of thing, basically. So we're just going to continue going through and encapsulating. Now, another thing that I try my hardest to do when I'm encapsulating is keep everything as neat as possible. So I try my hardest to make sure that I'm creating my apex area and it's not going to be too thick and bulky. I'm trying to make sure that I'm keeping my side walls nice and clean. So once I've got my acrylic down, I'm wiping over it quite a lot to make sure that I'm cleaning off any excess that might be running on the sides, or keeping the application so that it's not too thick and bulky. And the reason I'm doing this is because the neater your acrylic application, the less finish filing and debulking that you're going to have to do, which then makes your job a whole lot easier. So this is what the nails look like once we had encapsulated them all. You can see that your acrylic turns matte as it's encapsulating, and during the winter months it can take a little bit longer to set, so do make sure it's fully hardened and fully set before you come in and file. Now, I did do all of my filing and buffing off camera, so we're jumping straight to top coating, and we're top coating with the new Kiki London Snowflake top coat. So this is a clear gel top coat that has these soft fluffy white particles in it, and I just thought it would look absolutely beautiful over this snowy set of nails. So I'm just coming in and I'm coating the entire nail with the top coat to begin with, just to make sure everything is sealed in and everything's going to look super shiny. But then what I'm doing is I'm just using the bottle brush to nudge some of those white particles around, just so that they're covering or they're applied where I want them to go. Now, when you do this, it can make the top coat look a little bit uneven. This top coat is very similar to a lot of effect top coats that are out there. So when you move them around, it can kind of make the top coat look a little bit uneven, like I was saying. So 2 of the things I find that eliminate this is I float the top coat on rather than brush it on. This sort of gives you a more even application of the particles. And then what I will do is, before popping my nails into cure, I'll just hold my hand upside down for a few seconds, and this is going to help that product self level, and then you're just going to get a more smoother finish from it. So once I had applied this to all of the nails, we are going to pop this in to cure for 60 seconds, and then this is the result. I was quite happy with these because, in all honesty, I don't do many acrylic sets anymore. The last ones I would have done would have been whatever last acrylic set I uploaded to my channel. So although the application isn't perfect, it was a lot of fun to do them, and I'm definitely trying to get into the swing of doing them more because I do love an acrylic set of nails. So I really hope you all enjoyed watching, and I hope you managed to pick up some tips and tricks if you are new to doing acrylic nails yourself. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this design, and let me know if you have snow where you are. As always, all of the products I've used will be linked in the description box below, so do check that out. If you have any questions questions or comments, do pop them below. I'll always be happy to help. If you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would absolutely love it if you did. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.